The climactic underground battle in Species is one of the best examples of how Hollywood blended practical effects with the earliest generation of CGI. At a time when computer graphics were still in their infancy, the filmmakers couldn't rely on digital technology alone. Instead, they combined massive practical sets, animatronic creatures, miniature puppets, pyrotechnics, and cutting-edge visual effects to bring H.R. Giger's terrifying alien design to life. Let's begin with the film's unforgettable underground climax. The sequence, filled with fire, water, and thick industrial sludge, looks like it was filmed inside a real, abandoned factory. In reality, the entire environment was built from the ground up on a massive soundstage at Sony Pictures Studios in Culver City, California. Production designer Richard Silbert worked closely with visual effects supervisor Richard Unland to create an environment that resembled an abandoned steel mill, combined with an industrial drainage system. Rather than constructing everything from heavy concrete and steel, the crew used lightweight materials, fiberglass, and carefully sculpted set pieces that could be moved and modified during filming. Detailed paintwork and weathering techniques transformed these materials into rusted metal, damp concrete, and decades-old industrial structures. At the center of the set, the filmmakers constructed a large water channel that became the stage for Sil's final battle. Instead of using ordinary water, the crew mixed it with industrial lubricants, dark gels, and specially prepared, non-toxic materials to create the thick black sludge seen throughout the climax. This gave every splash, movement, and creature interaction a slimy, biological appearance that perfectly matched H.R. Giger's disturbing visual style. One of the biggest technical challenges involved the extensive use of real fire. Since the explosions and flames had to be filmed inside a soundstage, the production installed a complex network of remote-controlled propane gas lines beneath the floors and behind the walls. Custom-built flame bars and controlled pyrotechnic systems allow the crew to ignite large sections of the set safely during filming. Creating Sil's final alien form proved to be one of the most technically ambitious parts of the entire production. Legendary Swiss artist H.R. Giger envisioned Sil as something that looked both biological and otherworldly. An agile predator with translucent skin that revealed an almost living internal structure beneath the surface. To recreate that unsettling appearance, the effects team built the creature using translucent silicone skins and vacuum-formed plastic components. These materials allowed light to pass through the surface while concealing the complex mechanical systems hidden underneath, giving Sil an appearance that felt organic rather than mechanical. Because the climax required Sil to run, leap, attack, crawl through sludge, and physically interact with the actors, a single effects technique simply wasn't enough. Instead, the filmmakers combined three completely different creature systems throughout the sequence. The first was a full-body animatronic suit won by Olympic gold medal-winning Taekwondo athlete Dana He. Her athletic background and exceptional flexibility gave Sil an unnaturally fast and predatory style of movement that would have been difficult for most performers to achieve. While Dana controlled the creature's overall body movement, the alien's facial performance was handled separately. The blinking eyes, moving jaw, facial muscles, tentacles, and extending back spines were all powered by radio-controlled animatronic systems. One of the film's most memorable practical effects occurs when Sil is shot in the head during the climax. Rather than relying on computer graphics, the crew built a life-size replica of Sil's head using brittle wax and ballistic gel. Inside the model, they packed artificial alien blood, soft tissue materials, and miniature explosive squibs. When remotely triggered, the head exploded into hundreds of fragments, while high-speed cameras captured every detail. The footage was later slowed down, allowing audiences to clearly see the gruesome biological debris flying through the air, a practical effect that still holds up remarkably well today. Even these sophisticated animatronics couldn't achieve every moment the filmmakers wanted. Whenever Sil needed to perform unnatural leaps or insect-like body movements impossible for a human performer, the team switched to a highly flexible miniature rod puppet. Filmed against a blue screen, expert puppeteers manipulated the small creature using thin metal rods, which were later removed digitally during post-production. But this puppet served another groundbreaking purpose as well. Each movable joint contained electronic sensors connected to an experimental digital input device system. As the puppeteers physically moved the miniature's arms, legs, and spine, those exact movements were transmitted directly into a computer, allowing a digital 3D version of Sil to mimic the performance in real time. This dramatically reduced the amount of frame-by-frame animation required and gave the CGI creature far more natural movement because it was based on an actual physical performance rather than being animated entirely by hand. Species wastes no time pulling the audience into its story. The very first sequence introduced Syl as a seemingly innocent young girl locked inside a transparent containment chamber, creating an atmosphere of tension long before the action begins. Although the chamber looks like a futuristic digital environment, most of what you see on screen was actually built as a full-scale practical set. The production team physically constructed the laboratory interior, while Syl's containment cell was built using large acrylic and plexiglass panels to create the appearance of a high-security scientific enclosure. One of the biggest technical challenges wasn't building the chamber, it was filming it. Large transparent surfaces naturally reflect cameras, lights, and crew members, which could instantly ruin the illusion. To avoid that problem, cinematographer Andrei Bartkowiak and the lighting crew spent hours carefully repositioning lights, adjusting camera angles, and controlling reflections before nearly every shot. The goal was to make the chamber appear like a real laboratory containment unit, rather than a movie set. The young version of Syl was portrayed by Michelle Williams, and nearly all her close-up scenes were filmed inside this practical enclosure. Director Roger Donaldson intentionally wanted audiences to see Syl as an innocent, frightened child first. That emotional connection made her violent escape only minutes later feel far more shocking and unsettling. Once Syl escapes from the containment chamber, the pace of the film changes instantly. As she outruns the laboratory security team, boards a moving train, and eventually disappears into the surrounding wilderness, the movie transforms into a fast-paced science fiction thriller. To create that feeling of urgency, the filmmakers combined real California locations with specifically built interior sets. Many of the nighttime chase sequences through dense forests and thick vegetation were filmed on location after dark, allowing the natural environment to add realism that would have been difficult to recreate inside a studio. Capturing Syl's incredible speed required equally dynamic camera work. The cinematography team relied heavily on Steadicam systems and custom-built dolly tracks that could move smoothly alongside the actress as she sprinted through the woods. At the same time, additional camera operators were positioned at strategic locations to capture the action from multiple angles, giving the editors plenty of coverage to increase the intensity of the chase. The bizarre skull-shaped train you're seeing in this behind-the-scenes footage was actually part of one of the most ambitious sequences ever created for Species. Surprisingly, despite the enormous amount of time, money, and craftsmanship invested in it, the entire sequence was removed before the film's release. Today, fans know it as the Nightmare Train, or Geiger's Ghost Train. Originally, the scene was meant to appear shortly after Syl escaped from the laboratory and secretly boarded a train. During the journey, she would experience a terrifying nightmare caused by the alien DNA growing inside her mind. Director Roger Donaldson wanted audiences to witness the disturbing visions created by Syl's rapidly evolving alien instincts, giving viewers a glimpse into the psychological horror unfolding inside her. The unforgettable train itself was designed by legendary Swiss artist H.R. Geiger, the Academy Award-winning creator of the original Xenomorph from Alien. Geiger was famous for his unique biomechanical style, a disturbing blend of living tissue and machinery, and he applied that same philosophy here. The miniature locomotive was sculpted to resemble a giant human skull, complete with exposed ribs, enormous teeth, and organic mechanical details. During filming, sections of the model physically moved while smoke poured from hidden vents, making the entire train appear alive as it traveled through the nightmare landscape. The production spent no expense creating the sequence. Reports estimate that between $100,000 and $200,000 was spent building and filming the elaborate miniature, requiring months of work from the practical effects team. Despite all that effort, the sequence never appeared in the finished movie. During editing, Roger Donaldson felt the extended dream interrupted the momentum of Syl's escape. The opening of the film was designed as a fast-moving thriller, and stopping for a lengthy, surreal nightmare slowed the pacing too much. As a result, the entire sequence was removed. One of the film's most memorable laboratory sequences takes place inside the Level 4 Biohazard isolation lab, where scientists are studying rapidly growing alien cells. As Dr. Stephen Arden, Dr. Laura Baker, and the rest of the research team observe the experiment through reinforced glass, the small green biological sample suddenly begins expanding at an incredible rate. Within seconds, the organism fills the entire containment chamber, pushing against the glass until it finally cracks under the pressure. For a film released in 1995, this sequence is a brilliant example of how practical effects and clever editing could create something that still feels disturbingly real. The rapidly growing alien mass wasn't created entirely with computer graphics. Instead, The effects team combined multiple practical techniques to simulate the organism's violent expansion. The primary effect relied on inflatable air bladders hidden beneath layers of specially sculpted latex and polyurethane skin. Off-camera, technicians pumped high-pressure air into these concealed rubber chambers, causing the alien tissue to inflate rapidly. As the material expanded outward, it naturally pressed against the glass walls of the containment unit, creating the illusion that the organism was growing uncontrollably right before the audience's eyes. Behind every terrifying creature, transformation, and action sequence was an incredible combination of practical effects, animatronics, miniature models, pyrotechnics, and some of the earliest CGI techniques ever used in Hollywood. If you enjoyed exploring the behind-the-scenes secrets of Species, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more deep dives into the practical effects and filmmaking techniques behind your favorite movies.